The Louie Belina Show, final hour, Tuesday. The Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric. Now, normally, I'd be smiles. I'd be all like puppies, kittens, and rainbows, right? But I got to start with bad news. Sorry, man. Normally, Tuesdays, 1 o'clock, Olin Buchanan, Texags Live, the Texags Universe. Normally, he'd join me inside the Charles Schwab studio, but he's not here. He's working. A&M basketball, Buckyball, had a media day today. I think it started like 12:30, probably wrapped up right now. No OB, no Olin Buchanan. And I know a day without Olin is like a day without heavy liquor. It's just not a day worth living. So no, I'm sorry, man. No OB. My apologies. Now, it's not all bad news from there. We'll do the listen in this hour, and it's the Title Contender Series. There's only 2 teams left, which makes me sad because, man, McElroy's been absolutely crushing it. He doesn't do it way too early, top 25. He just does. It's 15 plus 1. There's a wild card team. 15 teams he thought could win the national championship, and one really dark horse. And I'll let him explain it all. We'll do a listen in. I forget which team it is. I think USC. I don't know. We'll listen in together. I'm not sure. We'll do that before we hit 2 o'clock. Also, 150 Community Spotlight, and it's the United Way of the Brazos Valley today. So all that, your text messages always, man. Spit it out before 2 o'clock or forever hold your peace, at least till tomorrow at 11 a.m. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. You can light up the Texas Mobile One Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile One Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. 979-693-1150. Text now. I do want to go around college football. Just a lot of miscellaneous things that kind of caught my attention. And I love college football. I'm pretty sure you do too. And it's not just Aggie football, SEC and more. But yeah, it's SEC centric. To begin, I think it was Andy Staples did this SEC mailbox of his. And like, I don't know, kind of some things get me thinking, some things I saw. For example, is the SEC still imposing scholarship limits for football? And did I know? I didn't. Did I learn? Yes, I did. But the SEC voted in December to allow teams to scholarship all 105 players on the roster. This past season, they had the self-imposed 85 scholarship limit. And this was, I don't know if you knew, but the House settlement eliminated scholarship limits. So the year after, the SEC limited themselves to 85. Now, in December, they voted 105. So the answer is technically yes, but not really. Because 105 is, I think, the max roster, and every player on roster could be on a scholarship now. And that's one of those things that went, I guess, outside my radar. But 105. 105. Here's the thing about this. It sounds cool, but in the modern portal era, right? How deep can you really be anymore? Players don't have to sit. Programs pillage each other. Like, you're 85th even. Let's just stick with the old school 85. What value? I mean, practice. How much is your 80, 85th, 70th scholarship player going to contribute towards what now? Just being honest here. In the olden days, before portal, before players transferred and were eligible immediately, you could see what dynasties did and how valuable your 50, 60, and 70th scholarship were. Those dudes in their junior, senior years could be All-Americans potentially, but it doesn't work anymore. Could you maybe be 40 deep now? So great. You went from 85 to 105, added 20 more scholarships at a time where you're thinner than you ever will be and you can't fix it in the current system. So I don't know the value of that. Moving on. And again, this was just fun, SEC kind of centric and more, but the question is, who's the next Indiana? I mean, everyone's been asking that since Indiana, right? Which historical have-not is going to win a national championship. And you have to look at bad teams. And the way Stuart Mandel was, he looked at a conference and said, which teams have the fewest bowl appearances? Like in the Big Ten, next up, you got Rutgers with 13 and Northwestern with 18, Purdue at 21, Illinois with 22, and Minnesota with 26. And none of them appear on the cusp. In the SEC, Vanderbilt with 11, Kentucky with 23, South Carolina with 26, Mississippi 28, Missouri 38. So who's the next Indiana? Perennial mutt fest on the verge of breaking out, right? If I'm going from the SEC perspective, right? Missouri has been on the cusp of a college football playoff spot, generally one win short. They go 8-4, 9-3. See, that's the thing. They're not bad enough to be Indiana-like, but, they're in the bottom 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of all SEC schools in bowl appearances. And, man, people are forgetting now how bad Indiana really was as a football program because of what they've done the past 2 years. Missouri is too good to be considered the next Indiana, in my opinion. Vanderbilt would qualify. I think Kentucky would qualify. I've heard South Carolina, they might be a skosh too good to qualify as the next Indiana. Anybody want to go for that? Along the same veins, which surprise team to compete for the SEC championship or college football bid this year? Missouri, Florida, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Kentucky. On that list, Auburn, Kentucky would actually qualify. Vanderbilt just won 10 games a year ago. Missouri is always one game short. So I don't know. Those teams don't qualify. Vanderbilt was 10 wins a year ago. Missouri is always one game short. So Missouri is on the cusp team. That's not a surprise. Vanderbilt not being a surprise tells you how far they've come in a short amount of time. Florida, they've had top 10 talent and had bottom 10 wins. So if they get the coaching hire right, their turnaround is pretty immediate, is it not? So surprise, maybe a year one, that would be surprising, yes. So for me, of the nominees, if you want to be surprised, if you saw Kentucky or Auburn in the SEC championship game right now, that would be pretty shocking, would it not? I think the answer is a big, without a doubt, no question mark. That would be pretty shocking. And again, this is inspired by Stuart Mandel, the Athletic, and he had a mailbag that was pretty much all SEC-centric type questions. So got me thinking. There's a lot of things. I'm college football already, man. Elko yesterday, Aggie football, and I've been hitting up some of my regulars like a Mitch Light and others, college football 2026. I'm ready. The spring sports make me hungrier for football, not less, because I'm just ready to go. But here's the question. I'm paraphrasing some of it, but you know how this past season, we had coaches, you never saw James Franklin getting whacked. You never saw Brian Kelly get whacked. I saw Hugh Freeze getting whacked. I was stunned he returned, right? But the basic concept is this, right? Which coach this upcoming year could get shanked out of nowhere? Fired in season, like a month in or halfway mark, but hot seat out of nowhere. And that's the problem. It's got to be hot seat out of nowhere. Shane Beamer, if he got fired midway into the season, that wouldn't be out of nowhere. Josh Heupel is nominated. Yeah, that would be out of nowhere. I know they were disappointed in the year they had, but that disappointed, not so fast. If Sark got fired in season, that could be kind of James Franklin equivalency. Kalen DeBoer, his seat is smoldering, and I don't care what anybody in the universe says. If Kalen DeBoer were to be shanked in season, that would almost be a mercy killing, because maybe he's too stubborn to quit. If he actually had any contact for the the Michigan job, he should have sprinted out of Dodge. Then again, what if he wins the national championship this year? He should have sprinted out a job. If you're the Alabama head coach and you win the national championship this year, congrats. You need about 5 more. It doesn't appear that maybe the Alabama standard or universe is for him. I don't know. But anyway, so again, it has to be that unexpected because nobody predicted that Franklin was going to get shanked in season, let alone end of season. Kelly maybe end of season, not in season. A&M ended Brian Kelly at LSU. Huzzah! When we talk about the accomplishments of Aggie football in 2025, first road win since the Spanish-American Civil War, making the college football playoff for the first time, hosting 11 dubs. Can we say ending Brian Kelly, can that be added at the end? Because I think that was pretty awesome. We'll just call it the Baton Rouge takeover, including the head coaching job. But I think it has to be listed. Of all those coaches, Heupel would be the equivalency of a out-of-nowhere hot seat leading to termination. 979-693-1150. This was bizarre until I finally started to understand this. I'll explain. Because I know I said that and you're like, what are you talking about, dude? Relax. I'll explain. Well, this is the Louie Belina Show presented by CC Electric. This is the Louie Belina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio on a Tuesday. In uncertain times, Charles Schwab remains invested in their clients. That's you. But, if you want to go with Charles Schwab, Mark Sim. By offering personalized guidance and clarity. Personalized, I already said it, didn't I? I gave it away the ending. Mark Sim. That's why it's personalized. He's right here in College Station. Get answers to your questions. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station. But CBS Sports released letter grades for all the head coaching hirings. And they did it, I don't know if it was Saturday, Sunday. And I'm like, wait, in February? I mean, that's been done for a while, but, thanks to Michigan, it did take a while. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to go through, the high and the lows. Like Kyle Whittingham, who was being run out of Utah. They were tired of waiting for him to retire when they had the head coach in waiting. And sometimes, and it's actually more common than you think, you have these coach in waiting situations in the second the actual head coach even wavers. Who's the most popular player on most college football teams? The backup quarterback. When you have a head coach in waiting, who's the most popular coach on the team can be the head coach in waiting. And I think that's what happened with Kyle Whittingham, where the rest of the nation understands. And I think he seems completely the right type of coach for the Big Ten, where I never thought it made sense for him in the Big 12. But that grade got an A, and we're going to see if there's anything left in the tank. And that's an easy call. If he has anything left in the tank with Michigan resources, in what universe does he not win? And at what level does he win? Don't know. That's just the truth, right? I don't know at what level he's going to win, but how does he not win? Ends up being the question. 10 games, college football playoff minimum kind of appearances. Can't answer all of that. But he is going to win. Only giving you the high, there's only 2 Fs on the whole list. And I often think to myself, kind of how bad, just how bad does it have to be to actually get a bona fide F grade? Blake Anderson at Southern Miss got promoted from being the offensive coordinator at Southern Miss. And that outright just got an F grade. They just stomped on that one. Matt Campbell left Iowa State. And I've said for a decade, if not a decade and a half, there's only 2 jobs he'd leave Iowa State for. And it's always Penn State and Notre Dame. Penn State made him, he was their 10th pick, I think, when they hired him. But he got his dream job, and it was a B grade. Seriously, he was their 10th pick. James Madison got Billy Napier. And you would think that someone who was at one point the highest graded G5 coach, came from Florida. I mean, he didn't get it there, but, only a B minus. I mean, that's a borderline mutt grade, to be honest with you. I was surprised at kind of how low the grade really was in the end. But yeah, That's a really low grade, actually. I think if you're James Madison, you get a Napier, that's almost a steal. Not so fast. Failing grades, the high end, the low end of the curve. UCLA hired they hired the James Madison coach who moved on, and I had heard nothing but phenomenal things about him from the second he got hired. And that ended up getting the A grade. Chesney. Yeah, that got nothing from the second he was even rumored. The Lane Kiffin hire, from all the coverage, all the hype, and schools, a three-way bidding war. Was it Florida, LSU, and Ole Miss trying to retain him? And the final grade is just a B. That feels so flat to me. Just a B? And finally, two more for you. James Franklin, Va-Tech, easy A. No work involved with that. For Virginia Tech, that's so, what is it when the average to ugly dude gets the hot chick, and what is it called? Out shooting your coverage or whatever? Yeah, that's what Virginia Tech did. And finally, Oklahoma State got Eric Morris from North Texas. A. Got an A. A grade for that hire. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. It is the Louie Belina Show on a Tuesday. It is the Louie Belina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio on the Zone.
The Money Machine is now open. The easiest radio contest on the planet. Enter now at Zone1150.com to win $5,000.
What are we waiting for?
And great weekly prizes, too.
The Louie Belina Show. Rolling on. Louie Belina Show presented by CC Electric. Built on faith, family, community. That is CC Electric. I do need to jump into the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. That's where all your text messages pop up. Kevin in BCS suggests that we should call it the sacking of Baton Rouge, taking over Tiger Stadium and sacking Kelly. He thinks that we should call that the sacking of Baton Rouge because when we list the accomplishments, what happened Aggie football in 2025, winning the first road, top 10 win, top 5 win since Methuselah, winning SEC road games, the 11 dubs, making the first college football playoff, everything was accomplished. The Baton Rouge, the LSU win, is not just another win at Baton Rouge. I mean, the Aggies took over the stadium and got the coach fired. So it needs to be noted, not just lumped in with the rest of the games. And Kevin says we should call it the sacking of Baton Rouge. Thank you for the text message, Kevin. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. We just went around college football, just having fun, kind of getting the hypometer up for college football 2026. Sticking with around college football, I got to listen in. It's Greg McElroy, Always College Football, the Title Contender Series, in which only 2 teams remain. This is USC.
We will move forward with I want you just to close your eyes and envision this for a scenario. I want you to imagine that you are the most popular kid in a really good high school, but the high school is maybe a little bit smaller. You've been dominant for a long time. You're fast, you're flashy. Everyone loves your highlights. And then you transfer to this massive 6A powerhouse where everyone's bigger than you, the weather's colder, they don't care about what you've accomplished up to this point. They just want to see whether or not you're up to the task of picking up a blitz on 3rd and long. Well, that's been the experience for the USC Trojans the last couple of years. I know what the skeptics are saying. Guys, they went 9-4 last year. They got bullied in the trenches by Notre Dame. Lincoln Riley hasn't been able to do it without a generational, once-in-a-lifetime quarterback. Well, I'm here to tell you that the 2026 USC Trojans, they're listening. And I think they've spent the last couple weeks, the last 8 months, the last however long it's been, in building a blueprint, overhauling that blueprint. And I don't think this is the team that people currently think of when they think USC. I think they think finesse and offense and all stuff. That's not what this team is currently doing. There's a program that just signed the top recruiting class in the country, according to some publications. And in one of the best moves of the offseason, they go out and hire a legend to fix one side of the ball that Lincoln Riley is intimately familiar with. They played a lot of games together against each other when Gary Patterson was at TCU and Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma. But let's start, because it's SC and because it's Lincoln Riley's system, you have to start with the quarterback, Jayden Mayava. Now, last year, a big question was, how much can they grow at quarterback? Because if you look at what they were under Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley's first year, it was amazing, right? Second year, not so good. Third year, okay, but not great. Now it's Mayava, and Mayava's going into another year. And I think when you look at it, I think a lot of people are sleeping on what Mayava can be. I mean, he had a tremendously impressive season last year. Threw for over 3,700 yards, 24 touchdowns. Importantly, he proved that he can navigate a physical grind at the Big Ten. And I think coming in to 2026, he's no longer the new guy or the bridge to the 5-star that's been recruited. Like, he is an established piece that has already proven in one full year under Lincoln Riley's system under his belt. He's proven that growth can be had over the course of the season. I thought he really played well for most of the year last year and is currently sitting there right now somewhere in, 15-1, 20-1 for the Heisman Trophy. And frankly, I think that's a steal. Why? Because we've seen a lot of glimpses. A big part of him being the guy last year was like, all right, can he avoid the critical mistake? How mobile is he? How electric can he be? Well, I think he's proven that he's got great mobility. He's proven that he can take care of the football. And we've seen a guy that at 225 pounds that can move. And I wouldn't be that surprised if in 2026 we start seeing a little more quarterback run game. We use that as a bit of a weapon to neutralize the Big Ten pass rush. Because if Mayava becomes a bit of a rushing threat, I don't know if he's necessarily ever going to be a guy that takes over the game with his legs, but we know he can do it with his arm. Good luck, though, because there's not a defensive coordinator in the conference that is looking forward to stopping this offense if Mayava can take that next step, because it was pretty good last year. Now, one of the elephants in the room for the last however many years under Lincoln Riley at SC was defense. Well, I've seen great progress that's been made on defense over the last few years. But now you bring in the guy that has a legendary past as a head coach and as a guy that just is great coaching the defensive side of the football. To go out and hire Gary Patterson as the defensive coordinator is massive. Now, for a long time, even dating back to the time in the Big 12, the knock on Lincoln Riley was that the defense was a necessary evil. Like, you had to have it, but it was all about scoring points. You had to have just enough defense to ensure that you can get the ball back to your offense. Well, hiring Gary Patterson is a loud, clear signal that this is trying to become a very balanced group that can win with their offense and with their defense. And Gary Patterson, what's he been great at in his career? He's been great in establishing a culture to bring a level of discipline, a level of mean, and a really good scheme that has been difficult for a lot of modern offenses. Now, this is not going to be a USC group on the defensive side that's going to be pushed around. They're going to be a physical group because that's what Gary Patterson demands. He's got some really good toys to play with too. They have some really nice young pieces. They got a lot of young guys that might have to play early. They got some veteran pieces there in the back end. So if Gary Patterson can take this USC defense from solid to maybe a top 25 group, now we're talking about a group that's a college football playoff. I don't want to say lock, but they're right there on the fringe, because they don't have to be the 85 Bears. They need to be a group that can be top 15, top 20. I mean, look at where defenses are going. Look at the teams that are winning championships. They got top 5 defenses. That's the way it goes. But if you look at where they're at, man, if they can continue to progress, there's a lot to like about what SC might have on that side of the ball. Because want to know another reason why I'm real high on SC this year, because we've talked quarterback. Yes, there's a few pieces to replace at wide receiver, no doubt about it. But you got to like what they have returning along the offensive line, because for the first time in what feels like a generation, USC brings back a lot of snaps on that offensive line. Think about that. In the age of the portal, to keep 5 guys together that have played a lot of football together for 2 straight years is like finding a unicorn in your backyard, man. It's really hard to find. I think you got to feel good about your tackle spot. These are guys that have been to the big house. They've been in tough environments. They've survived. So that continuity will allow Lincoln Riley to really be creative, and you can maybe run some more complex schemes running the football. He can rely on the offensive line to hold up on the islands if they need to. So if Mayava has 3 to 4 seconds to survey the field, he's going to find the open guy every time. He's really going to make you pay. So that's probably one of the most Big Ten ready offensive lines that SC's had in a while. Now, you also have to look at the pass catchers. Now, you lost some big names, and there are a lot of guys that will be moving on, a lot of production that needs to be replaced, but they are always going to have wide receivers at SC. I have never been concerned about quality pass catchers, whether it's at wide receiver or if it's at tight end. Like, they're going to have weapons, and Hines now becomes your wide receiver one, really good player. You got some really nice pieces in the recruiting class that might be able to step right in and be a guy day one. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if you can find a capable tight end and they've recruited one. Maybe that guy can become a very important addition, and it will create mismatches when it comes to personnel. And don't forget the backfield too. You have a 1-2 punch at running back with Miller and Jordan that could have a really big year. So these are downhill guys. They can dance. They can catch the ball. They can be effective out on the perimeter. They can be effective up inside. So it has a chance to be a very balanced and borderline violent offensive identity that we haven't seen in quite some time. So very, very excited about what they have on the offensive side. You got to look at the gauntlet, though. The schedule's a beast. It is a beast. All right. You got Oregon early. The Ducks will come to the Coliseum. So you got that classic Pac-12 matchup against one of the best teams in college football. You're going to know everything you need to know on September 26th. You go to Penn State, really tough road trip. So the poise and the veteran presence that is Mayava, that's going to be tested. And then one that we all have circled on the calendar, how about Halloween? Ohio State comes to the Coliseum. So if you imagine the atmosphere there, the Buckeyes and the Trojans under the lights in LA. I mean, this, when USC joined the Big Ten, this is the game that we're all very much looking forward to. So if SC can protect the home turf against Ohio State, they're not just a playoff team, and we're talking about a team that could finish, top 5, 6, 7 in college football. Now, the toughest part of the schedule, no Notre Dame. That's unfortunate, right? The Irish are off the schedule for the first time in a really long time. And honestly, is that a break for USC? Perhaps, but they certainly pick it up with the Big Ten grind that they have and the challenges that they have from a travel standpoint as well. So this 2026 Trojan team, I think, has a chance. I really do. They're a team that has really embraced the reality of their new conference. They have a veteran, high-level quarterback. They have an offensive line that has a chance to be really, really good. They have a defensive coordinator that has done more with less his whole career. And you look at their odds at 35-1, pretty good value, because a lot of the media will still point to that 9-4 record from last year and say, oh, that's same old SC. But you look at the recruiting, you look at the staff changes, the continuity in some spots, you got a bit of a team that's flying under the radar. And I think you look at Lincoln Riley, he's got his team, he's got his defense. Now he needs to just go and get it done on a week-to-week basis. But very optimistic about what the Trojans might have this upcoming season.
That, next to last, Greg McElroy, Always College Football Podcast, his Title Contender Series, USC. And I think the Title Contender Series has been nothing short of amazing. There's one more team to go. And again, his last team is the dark horse, a wild card, not necessarily like the first 15 he did, and maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but again, this week we'll wrap up the Title Contender Series. This is the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, community. When we return, the rest of the world of sports at 1:50 Community Spotlight, and then we're out of here. Peace out. Do not forget, text messages are welcome. 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. You can light up the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile and Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. This is the Louie Belina Show on the Zone.
The Louie Belina Show. Dial 979-693-1150.
Hello.
To visit with him. Hello. Or to win. Hello. On the D4 Land Services Hotline. Dial 979-693-1150.
The Louie Belina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio. The Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric. Down the stretch we come. In 12, 13 minutes, it'll be the Community Spotlight, United Way of the Brazos Valley. I already seen them. They're here. Cannot wait to visit with them, serving the Brazos Valley, helping other nonprofits serve the Brazos Valley. That's coming up at 1:50 every Tuesday at 1:50. It is the Community Spotlight. I want to venture into the rest of the world of sports. This morning, I saw this early, and I have always loved MMA, mixed martial arts. I remember UFC before they started numbering them. I remember UFC back in its early origins when it was a test to see the original, which martial art was the best. And you just saw weird things that wasn't really fighting at times. And Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This morning, there was a big announcement. A dream fight was going to take place, and it was a dream, I don't know, was it 20, 30 years ago, but Ronda Rousey is returning to MMA, and she is going to take on Gina Carano. And Ronda Rousey was the first, I don't know, see, that's not correct either. Maybe by titles and championships and stuff, because the original great, name female fighters, Gina Carano, and that led to Cyborg, and that led to Rousey, who then led to Amanda Nunes. And there's others along the way, but that might be the correct timeline. But Ronda Rousey, former UFC bantamweight, and she had the arm bar, but the problem was she only had one move and she never evolved, and she had to get out of the 12-2. First American woman to win an Olympic medal in judo in 2008. First woman signed to the UFC after she was in Strike Force. She was the last women's bantamweight champion in Strike Force, and she transcended. Everyone covered her. She was on everything. She wasn't just like the rest of it at the time, kind of like UFC and niche. No, ESPN wanted her, and she was getting TV roles, and she transcended and brought the sport up with her. She still holds the UFC record for successfully defending her title 6 consecutive times. Again, she was larger than just. But she got upset in 15, tried to get the belt back in she was upset in 15, tried to get the belt back in 16, and her first fight the fight against Amanda Nunes made it clear that wasn't happening. There's no other way to be honest about it. The sport had passed her by. She went in the WWE from 2018 to 2022, and she wasn't very good at it, but she was such a name, they pushed her. She went into Hollywood, ended up inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame in 2018. This is how long ago it was. And, in dream fights, I guess you would say Rousey and Carano could have been, would have been, but this is so long ago. 2018. Carano goes back to 2006 to 2009. She squared off against Cyborg in 9, lost, and just quit. That was her first and only loss of her career. There's a lot of controversies about a lot of this for both Rousey and Carano. Not against them, but Cyborg didn't have to follow the same rules as other fighters. She always weighed in overweight, didn't care about the penalties, never got punished. A lot of her fights were not necessarily fair, and Carano just didn't want to deal with it, got out, goes into Hollywood, does Fast and Furious, Deadpool, Haywire, The Mandalorians. She knew she could just make much more money and not have to deal with the cyborgs of the world and no one regulating it. So, and even again, the Nunes fight's the question. So, anyway, a legacy fight. I think that's the right term for this. Now, I always, as a fight fan, I've never been a fan of these legacy fights. Because obviously, what is it? Let's see. Ronda Rousey is 40 and Carano's 39. Maybe I have their ages reversed. No, Carano's 43 and Rousey's 40 or 39. It's something like that. But Carano's 43. They're past their prime. Not their fault. They're not fighting for anything. It's not a comeback fight. It's a one-off fat paycheck. I kind of assume that both would like to win, but here's probably the priority order of goals, right? 1, don't get hurt. 2, don't get hurt. 3, don't get hurt. 4, fat paycheck. 5 is win. That's not how the fight game works. So they're not real fights. I've never looked at these kind of gimmicky comeback. Now, they're 2 real fighters. At least this isn't former childhood actor versus, so it's not one of those fights. And it's going to be streamed live on Netflix. So why does that send red flags and bells off in my head? It's an MMA event promoted by Jake Paul's most valuable promotions. The first one that he's going to, like, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Now, if it was for the first inaugural belt and they were going to defend it in his promotion, it's not. This is both are going to make, I don't know, 2 mil, 5 mil, 20 mil each, whatever. It's going to be insane. The amount of money they're going to get paid for this, right? That's why they're doing it. I'm sure they'll talk. If you break my arm, I will shoot you in the locker room afterwards. So, no submissions. And the arm bar is Rousey's thing. I don't know. The names, I remember them. Most of my life, massive UFC fan. And I remember Strikeforce, where they both came from. I watched that Carrano Cyborg fight, knowing that Carrano was doomed, but with all your heart, everybody was rooting for Carrano, and it was never going to happen. Knowing how much trouble Rousey was in because she refused to change her coach. She refused to change her style. She didn't want to evolve. She thought the one trick would carry her. But 12-2, 7-1. Pioneers, both of them in their own way. So, fascinated, but I've never been big on exhibitions of anything, but exhibitions of combat sports even more seem odd to me. When Tyson came back, I just hoped he didn't die in the ring, to be fair with you. That was my number one thought on this, is like, please? Anyway, so my question of the now, my question of the moment, you paying for this? It's Netflix. I guess if you already have Netflix. And didn't they, when they had the Tyson fight, Netflix crashed, it buffered horribly, and it was a nightmare experience trying to watch this thing because they weren't equipped and capable? Am I off on that? Because I don't have Netflix and I wasn't going to turn it on for a month just to watch that fight. But are you in on this? This seems like a much harder sell. Seriously, it seems like a much harder sell because, you're talking about 2006 to 2009. Rousey was larger than the sport, but even she disappeared. And finishing WWE, I don't know if that discredited her or what. I do have one person, which I appreciate the sport, says, you could do a Louie B Indian leg wrestling competition streamed on whatever, and I would watch that before the Legacy fight. It's good to know I have my supporters. Indian leg wrestling, I was always good. I just had to make a decision. I didn't want to go pro and lose my amateur status on Indian leg wrestling, so I never went to the big leagues in that. When we return, up next, Community Spotlight. That's what's next with the United Way of the Brazos Valley. It's an every Tuesday thing here on the Louie Belina Show, presented, by CC Electric. That's the Louie Belina Show, Tuesday on the Zone.
All right, listen up, class.
The Money Machine is open now. Make sure to enter each week.
Everyone comes out a winner.
At Sony1150.com or through the Zone newsletter to win $5,000.
It is the Louie Belina Show. It is Tuesday. It is 1:50. These things are all true. What it equals in the end is the Community Spotlight. We do it every Tuesday right about 1:50 on the Louie Belina Show. On the Zone this Tuesday, we visit with the United Way of the Brazos Valley. Everybody say hi.
Hello. Hey!
I love that. That is true energy. It's kind of the world I live in. Today, a couple of things we'd like to talk about. And one of them fascinated me from the start. I've heard of 211. Have no idea what 211 is. I know what 911 is. I've heard of what 411 is, another number I think out there too. Could you share, could you help people? What is 211?
Absolutely. So actually, we celebrated 211 Day last week on February 11th, and so we wanted to.
Well, that's how it works. That's why it's 211.
Yeah, but we
February's
wanted
2, and then the 1-1 part.
That's right. The 1-1
so
part.
211 would be February 11th. Thank you.
So we want to raise awareness about 211. It's 211 Texas is a free information and referral call center. We have 211 centers all over Texas. United Way of the Brazos Valley manages the one here. Basically, if you need, it's a non-emergency line. If you need help with rental assistance, utility assistance, food assistance, those types of things. Healthcare, absolutely. So you call 211 and they will connect you with the right resources. And
it's year round. It's not a February thing. It's not the 11th day of each month. This is year round.
This is 24/7, 365.
Awesome.
Yes.
Anytime, any
day, in 90 languages.
Wow. Okay. And who runs it here in Bryan College Station? You said it's United Way of the Brazos Valley. You have a particular person who runs it for you?
Shout out to Hilda. She's been with us over 20 years.
That's amazing.
Yes.
When you get someone that long, there's a certain passion involved with it.
Agreed. Absolutely.
And also someone that's run it that long, the expertise you get with it too.
Absolutely.
And something to me that's so vital too, all the different services that are involved.
It's a lot. It's a lot that she manages, but we're so thankful to have Hilda and the rest of our team. They do a great job.
Non-emergency services, 211, United Way of the Brazos Valley, 24/7, any day, anytime. Reach out. Find someone that can help you with it.
Yes,
211, reach out. And again, earlier this month, what was the day again that they celebrated that?
211.
Okay, just trying to make sure. You guys have a party coming up. It's a word that's a little bigger than me. I'm not fancified like y'all, but you have this, shoe coming up, soiree?
I mean, it's a soiree,
I know,
Louie.
big word time.
Everybody wants to be a part of a soiree. It's the Sneaker Soiree benefiting United Way of the Brazos Valley. It's going to be at the end of the month, Saturday, February 28th at the Kimball in downtown Bryan. Lots of things going on. We are so excited about it.
Now tell me more. What kind of soiree? We got food? Do we have dancing? I know there's going to be music.
It's going to be everything, right?
I love a soiree,
everybody,
but
let's find
some
out what
people don't
is
speak
it
French.
about. Well, here it is. We are going to have food, dinner, music, live music, a red carpet, competition, best dressed, best sneakers.
Okay, you said best dress. I know I'm going to lose that. Best sneaker, I got an outside shot.
You probably do. There's all sorts.
I'll
Just
even
come.
clean my sneakers. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely prizes for that. We're going to have a raffle, and in that raffle, there will be lots of good items. One of them being a guitar autographed by Aiden Ross himself.
Nice.
So that's always a fun thing.
That's awesome. Winner of the Voice.
So winner of the Voice for sure. And then we have live music where we'll be featuring a new up-and-coming country artist by the name of Latrell Bailey. He's going to be performing, and we are just excited and really want people to come out and get tickets and join.
You know what I love?
What?
You said country artist, and that's the only time you went with a country act with Bailey. That's my favorite part
Doesn't
of that
get
right
it,
there.
Bailey.
You saw Bailey.
Latrell Bailey.
You broke out the accent. He should be honored. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Bailey. Now, there's a lot going on with the soiree. Best sneaker, best dress, red carpet. Need to get tickets. There's a meal involved. Where do people go get more info? Where can they look it up? 3 days from now, they're like, I think there's a big party coming up. Where do they go get all the info?
The biggest party of the year, people. Let's come. Okay, so it's February 28th you can go onto our website, uwbv.org, where you can get tickets, but we're also looking for sponsorship. So big shout out to ABC Home and Commercial Services and the Bubba Moore Foundation, who are two of our sponsors, but we definitely are looking for sponsors. So uwbv.org.
How does sponsorship work? Do you sponsor like a table? Do you sponsor a sneaker?
So
What do you sponsor?
So we're looking for a $2,500 sponsorship where we can advertise for you, just like we did earlier with ABC and, of course, Bubba Moore. But we will also be able to get you tickets and put you on social media and just recognize you. We're doing great things in our community.
So, if anyone, your business, or just you, I mean, it can be the individual.
That's right.
If you'd like to be involved with the sneaker soiree, really, if you just want to help out the United Way of the Brazos Valley, and they have many, 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 many programs. The United Way of the Brazos Valley, they help other nonprofits, and they help all the different missions going on around Bryan College Station. And we mentioned earlier, like, they run the 211 hotline.
That's right.
Here in Bryan College Station, and so much more. be a sponsor of the Sneaker Soiree. Again, individual, company, it doesn't matter. And the website again, because I love websites.
Oh, yes. UWBV.org. It stands for United Way Brazos Valley.
I like that. You're at work, you're bored. How many times can you check your email? You can't get caught, playing games at work. You can go to UWBV.org, check out the Sneaker Soiree.
Please do.
Also check out their mission. Check out, there's volunteering, there's donating. There's so much going on. And maybe you can't make the Sneaker Soiree. There's always something next, something new going on.
Absolutely.
UWBV.org. Again, quit checking your email. There's almost time out there. Thank you both so much. The 211 hotline run by the United Way of the Brazos Valley. 24/7, any time of the day. Not emergency. We need to be clear here. If it's reached that bad, get help now. But if you need help, and again, the different areas, possibly food security, utility assistance, housing and shelter, healthcare, and also individual, family, and community support. That 211 hotline.
All the things, Louie. It's the number to call when you don't know who to call.
Just give it a shot. It's there 24/7. Thank you both.
Thank you.
See you, and good luck with the Sneaker Soiree.
Thank you.
Who doesn't love a party?
We hope to see you there.
We hope to see you there.
I'd have to get sneakers. When we return tomorrow at 11, because I'm getting out of here right now, we'll visit with Chip Howard of Chip Howard Sports Talk. He'll join us inside the Charles Schwab studio. Tomorrow, listen in. Bucky McMillan. He had his media day yesterday. We'll get you ready for the Ole Miss game. Tony Catalina of the Austin American Statesman. And our monthly beer recommendations with Alan Ward of Brigadoon Brewery. He'll join us on the Deep Land Services hotline. Peace, everybody. Be awesome.